Back with the WMAY morning news feed. Should the U.S. Senate end the filibuster? That's a rule that ultimately allows for only things to advance in certain conditions if it has 60 votes or more. But with the Senate evenly split, 50-50, and two moderate Democrats seeming to not go along with the progressives in the Democratic Party on some big spending bills. There's some conversation, even President Joe Biden, former member of the Senate, looking at possibly ending the filibuster. Should that happen? 217-629-7970. That's the phone number for you to chime in. Again, 217-629-7970. I want to hear from you. Should we end the filibuster and move forward with the various votes that Democrats are wanting to do? It's not just the $3.5 trillion that Democrats say doesn't cost anything. It's the they'll say it's $3.5 trillion, but it doesn't cost anything. But ultimately, you have other issues as well, like changing voting laws across the country and a variety of other things. So phone lines are packed here. 217-629-7970 again is the phone number. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. The filibuster, the way it was actually envisioned and provisioned, doesn't exist anymore and hasn't for some time because they changed it quite a while ago. Any senator, one of 100, can just say, I don't like that one. And that's the filibuster. At least when it originally came out, whether it was from segregationists or whoever would argue that that's why it happened, you had to stand there and make your point.
Well, it was a Democrat that did that, right? I mean, wasn't what's his face, the former KKK, Master Dragon or whatever his name was?
Democrat and Republican doesn't exist anymore. The Republicans in the 50s were the Democrats of today, and the Democrats.
I don't know. Come on, God, the big flip. I don't know if that. Come on.
Well,
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. No, I just don't believe it. I don't believe that the big flip that people claim happened.
What's on the Republican platform? Nothing. They don't have one. They
okay, but to the question. Enough with the history. We can debate history over beer sometime. But to the question,
filibuster, it should require that if a senator has objections, that he make those objections, not just raise his hand and say, I'm going to filibuster this one, so that's it.
And not just to be a long soliloquy about, or soliloquy, is there another syllable in there?
Green eggs and ham, the Democrats do the very same thing, absolutely same thing. But it's become a joke. So people now think, well, what's the point?
Is it a joke, or is it a stopgap from rushing through what could be drastic changes to American policy based off of a simple majority? I appreciate the call. We got full phone lines. I want to get to them all. 217-629-7970. Filibuster, should it be ended, or is it necessary? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
First of all, the big flip has been disproven time and time again. There was KKK members in the Democratic Party all the way up into the 90s. But no, the filibuster should absolutely not be eliminated, and it's hypocritical and short-sighted to think so. The only process that should be eliminated is the reconciliation process.
Well, that's another issue here where they approved something with simple majorities, and then they get together in these committees, and then they hash everything out after the fact.
Yeah, you have trillions of dollars that can be spent by 50% of the vote. It's absolutely mind-boggling. They're wanting to spend $3.5 trillion over the next 10 years of future electorate's money. They want to enslave. We already enslaved them to $30 trillion, and they want to add another $3.5 trillion on top of it.
Well, and there's a debate about increasing the debt limit, and the debate is, well, we've already approved all this funding in previous Congresses, so we need to increase the debt ceiling. Well, now they're looking at spending even more, $3.5 trillion plus, could be $5+ trillion. And what are they going to have to do down the road? They're probably going to have to increase the debt ceiling. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
I think it's me still, but.
Oh, my apologies. I appreciate you hanging on. Let me get to another call, though. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning. Getting rid of the filibuster is such complete hypocrisy. 4 years ago, according to Chuck Schumer and 36 Democratic senators, it was a horrible idea, and they all signed a letter talking about how terrible it would be to get rid of the filibuster when President Trump wanted it, but Mitch McConnell refused to do it. And, of course, the Democrats opposed it. Now, all of a sudden, with the new Democratic president, getting rid of the filibuster is such a great idea. And 26 of those Democratic senators are all still in office and now voting or now saying they want to get rid of the filibuster. So it's frankly a bunch of crap that they've now all of a sudden 4 years later it's a great idea when 4 years ago it was a horrible idea. I mean, you want to talk about the ultimate hypocrisy.
Well, and Republicans didn't want to do it whenever they had the power because they knew that it could be abused.
Smart enough to know.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, they knew that it would come back to bite them, and Mitch McConnell told them that, and he told them when Harry Reid did it for justices. And look what happened. Trump got 3 Supreme Court justices on there, and the Democrats have nobody to blame but themselves. And it does. This puts a break on crazy. I mean, actually, they wrote a very nice letter back in 2017, and I'd encourage you, if you want to look, about the reasons you don't get rid of the filibuster. And I would suggest that all our, including Durbin and our senators, go back and look at that letter that they signed 4 years ago, talking about how it would be terrible to get rid of the filibuster. So anyway, I wanted to point the hypocrisy out of the folks who now say it's a great idea to get rid of it.
Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. Good morning. Should we end the filibuster? You're on the air.
Well, good morning, Greg. How you doing?
Good. Yourself?
Not bad. I would say since it's not a constitutional item, I don't have a problem with getting rid of it. I mean, like the guy who was just talking about the hypocritical Democrats, both parties have cut out part of the filibuster to get something done that they wanted.
Sure, yeah.
So that's why they have the Supreme Court justices they have now, things like that. So nobody's hypocrite. They're all hypocrites, pure and simple.
Well, I mean, I think that's probably one of the one of the requirements.
Yeah,
kind of be
but
in
since
that
it's not
position.
actually, I'd still say since it's not actually a constitutional item, I say get rid of it. It was never put in there by the founding fathers.
Interesting
So get rid of
perspective.
it.
There you go. I think that's an interesting thought, and that's what I'm looking for. Good morning. You are on WMAY. Your thoughts? Should we end the filibuster?
I think the filibuster is a good idea. That way you get partisanship of both parties. But the problem is both parties don't want to work with each other anymore. I mean, you can go back to either side and hear the opposite of whatever view they have from 10 years ago. They spout the opposite view. They don't have any morals. They don't have any backbones to stick with what they decide. And the dirty tricks that are being played right now, I would be upset if they did do it because they haven't been playing fair ball on either side for years. I mean, look at what Mitch McConnell did with the Supreme Court justice. They say it was a Democrat's fault for doing it, but they couldn't force Mitch McConnell in the final year to tell Obama that he couldn't do his Supreme Court, which is under his own rights to do, but yet they ran through Trump's as fast as they could. So, again, both sides, until you start holding both sides responsible
Absolutely.
and actually putting these people to each, we don't have a good government. But the problem is as long as our side is doing what we like,
that's of course,
we overlook all of the problems that they have, the corruptions and everything.
Obviously.
But it's both.
No, absolutely, 100% it is both. Appreciate the call. Take one more here. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
What's up, Greg?
Hey.
I think isn't it usually the Democrats that whine when they change these rules and then it comes back to bite them in the ass later on?
Well,
They're the ones who whine about it.
But I think that's one of the opposition to it changing is that, this could, and that was one thing Republicans brought up years ago as well, and even Democrats brought this up too, if it changes, it could be abused by those whoever do get power ultimately. And we're talking
exactly what's that.
Yeah, and we're talking about major shifts in U.S. policy when it comes to funding, $3.5 trillion, whether or not that costs zero or if it costs $3.5 trillion. That's I guess, what, they're trying to debate, but they want to push this through. They have to get through a filibuster, and there's been talk, and even President Biden suggesting that could be something that happens. So we'll watch this space. I appreciate everybody calling in. Very lively conversations. Of course, live and local talk radio. That's what it's about here on WMAY. All right, got to take a break.